Hello and welcome to the very first episode number 1 of the Mind Body Masters podcast. It is an absolute pleasure to be joining you today, and thank you so much for tuning in. I am so excited to share some of the messages and stories that have been rattling around in my brain with you, and I wanted to make it in a really easy to digest format, in a way that you can actually get really practical applications out of this. So today's episode is going to set the scene. It is all about what does it mean to become a mind body master, who this is for, and what you can expect going forward. So stay tuned. Hello, my name is Jake Curry. I specialize in the mind-body connection and teaching people how to heal themselves. This podcast is going to show you exactly how to become a true mind-body master, so that you can break free from the old emotions and patterns in your mind that have kept you stuck. When you're able to do this, you can heal yourself physically from the inside out, unlock your true potential, and live a life of flow, experiencing inspiration and energy like never before. If you're ready to learn how to harness the healing powers of your mind and develop the tools to become emotionally bulletproof, well, stay tuned as we heal, grow, and evolve. All right, so again, like I said, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited. We're just going to jump straight into today's episode. And what does it mean to become a mind-body master, and learning how to break free from the old emotions and patterns in your brain and mind that keep you stuck and prevent you from living your full potential and keep you stuck in chronic illness a lot of the time. So this is the topic of today's podcast episode. So before we do that, who is this podcast going to be for? What kind of people are going to really resonate with this material, and what kind of people are going to really get a lot out of this material? So firstly, it's for those people who want to know how their emotions, their stress, old things that they haven't necessarily processed are affecting them. It's for these people so that they can learn to create awareness around where they're being held back by themselves, so they can break free and create and do whatever it is they want in life, whether that be inner healing, emotional healing, physical healing, or having the ability to really do whatever it is that you want in life. That's probably people number one. It's for people that keep bumping into themselves and getting in their own way, self-sabotaging. A lot of those patterns are in your mind, and until you can actually see those patterns, you can't heal them. So this podcast is going to help you to actually start to see your own blind spots so that you can move through them and heal, grow, and evolve. But essentially, this podcast is going to be all about how to master your mind-body connection, how to use your body as a guide for your inner healing and healing in your mind, so that you can really start to open yourself up and really start putting yourself out there and really heal on so many different levels. So as well, though, one of the things that I see with my clients is becoming a mind-body master is all about being able to release a lot of the old emotions that really hold people back and hold us back. And so releasing things like anger and guilt and shame, and it's for people that really get caught up in self-blame and all negative self-talk and all this kind of crap in their heads that keeps you stuck and keeps you sick. So it's about actually creating awareness around that and starting to bust through it so that you can become everything that you've wanted to become. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to deliver this really succinctly, I'm going to try to. I tend to ramble, so just excuse that. But I want to give you practical tools as well. So tools in which you can learn how to create this awareness and do the inner work yourself so that you can heal yourself physically and emotionally, as well as giving you tools to become emotionally bulletproof. So I'm going to get into those a little bit more specifically in just a moment. But first, I just want to talk about what does it mean to become, what is the mind-body connection? What's that all about? You might have heard of it, you might have not. But essentially what it is it's something that the ancients have known forever, is that the body follows the mind. So when I say that the body follows the mind, it means that things at the physical level, so maybe chronic pain or illnesses or things that won't shift in your body, often they have a start point or a cause in your mind. And so if your mind is one way, your body's going to be the same way. If your mind is really negative and down and flat, well then naturally that's going to affect your body, and naturally you're going to feel really lethargic and flat and exhausted all the time. So what I see, and I'll get into my story in a little bit, but what I see with so many people is they try and change things at the physical level. They try and do things like increase their nutrition or start exercising or do these things to start feeling energetic and inspired again instead of feeling flat and exhausted. And while these things are absolutely essential, and while these things are absolutely massive parts of being healthy, if your mind is negative and flat and you're beating yourself up every day and you're hanging on to old emotions and hanging on to old traumas that you've experienced, well then there's only so far that you're going to get with that. And so it's my goal here to help you understand how your mind is creating change in your body, how to shift your mind, how to create new perspectives really quickly that get you out of the victim mentality, get you out of feeling crappy and having pity parties. And in full transparency, that is exactly where I used to be. I used to be constantly beating myself up, constantly in self-blame. And as a result, I was always flat. I had no energy. I was not inspired or motivated in life. And so I recognize that pattern in a lot of people. And when you're able to start to see that, well, that's when you can really start to transform your own life from the inside out. Instead of relying on external factors like changing your diet or nutrition or whatever, you can actually start doing that work internally. And because the body follows the mind, once you start to shift your perspective and shift your mind and all of the components that go along with that, well, naturally your body will start to follow. And this is really beautiful. And I'm going to get into now a little bit about me and how I sort of came into doing this work. And it'll all start to make sense, I guess, in just a moment. But I always wanted to help people as a kid growing up. Like, I didn't care how I was doing it. I initially wanted to be a surgeon. And I'm very thankful I didn't go down that path, because a lot of surgeons I know, they work so many hours. They do fantastic work, but they work a lot of hours. And for many of them, they don't have a lot of lifestyle balance. And for me, that was a deal breaker. So I broke my back playing football when I was 16, and that got me seeing my local chiropractor. And what he showed me is, apart from helping me physically get better, is he showed me that the body has this amazing ability to heal itself. It just needs the right conditions. And so this was a really inspiring thing, and that is actually what started me to go to uni and become a chiropractor. Because of chiropractic's understanding that the body can heal itself, I was like, man, that is amazing. I want to be all about that. That is real natural healing. That is understanding what I've known forever, as long as I can remember, that I just have this knowing that the body can heal itself. So that led me to study chiropractic. And as I sort of got through the course more, and as I actually got out into my own practice, I started to become a little bit frustrated with working on the physical level. So I'd see patients and clients, and they'd experience some great changes, no doubt, but a lot of the time there was people that just wouldn't get better, or they would constantly come back with the same thing week on week on week. And it really got me thinking, I'm missing something here, and what is it that I'm missing? And I was actually starting to get quite upset and questioning everything that I was doing, because I was like, maybe I'm actually not having the impact that I want to be having. Now, that all sort of came to a head with my own body. Now, as a kid growing up, I was really athletic and played so many sports. But the thing was, I was always injured. So I can understand when I have a big knock or a bump playing football and you break a leg, for example, and it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks to heal. I get that. There's natural injuries that occur. But the injuries that really were challenging for me were the mystery injuries, the injuries that just came on overnight, that I didn't get run over by a bus or anything like that, but just injuries that would come up unexpectedly for no apparent reason and then would take forever to heal. And it was at this stage when I was in chiropractic in my first year out as a chiropractor, I actually had an injury in my groin, and I did it doing CrossFit. And this injury was so challenging for me because everything that I did to get it right, nothing seemed to work. So I was getting adjusted, I was getting massages, I was doing dry needling, I changed my diet completely. I got rid of all inflammatory things like sugar and coffee and alcohol and all these kinds of things. But nothing seemed to change my groin. It just, like, I'm talking literally 6 months of this groin injury that just would not go anywhere. And as you can imagine, as a chiropractor, that was so frustrating, and it really challenged my thinking and my belief in working at the physical level to heal things and to change and get growth and all this cool stuff. And that's where I really started to question things, because I was like, man, if I'm doing everything right and I've got access to all of these amazing resources and nothing's still changing, there has to be something that I'm missing here. And that really is what started me on this journey. Because like I said, I was working purely on the physical level. I was doing all of the things physically, like massaging, chiro and needling and stretching and rehabilitation, like all this stuff, but nothing was working. And that's when I was actually at a conference. I was doing a presentation on running technique, of all things. And at that presentation, there was some guys talking about something called German New Medicine. And I was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. I'm going to go and watch their presentation. So it was a man by the name of Dr. Alvin de Leon from Canada who came out to present, and a guy from Australia, William Hughes. And these guys spoke about something that immediately just grabbed me. It was that disease starts at the emotional level in the psyche. So when we experience unexpected traumas or events that are emotionally distressing, our body will physically adapt to help us cope and survive in that changed environment. And I was like, whoa, that is something that I have been looking for and kind of understood at some level, but just never had made the connections, or never was able to understand the connections between the mind and the body, and how we experience and perceive events, if they might be stressful or unexpected or whatever, and how those events actually are the catalyst for our body adapting and changing. And so my mind was kind of blown hearing this. I was like, man, that makes so much sense. And maybe this is the thing that I've been missing with not only my own patients, but hey, maybe it's something that's been missing with my groin. And so I went up and spoke to these guys after their presentation. And as a chiropractor, I was particularly interested in their perspective. And we got talking. I was speaking with Will Hughes, who's now one of my mentors. And I asked him, I go, Will, is there any particular link with groin tears and some kind of stressful or emotional event? And he kind of gave me this cheeky nod, like, of course. And so anyway, Will proceeded to ask me some questions about like where I'd experienced some emotional conflict. And without going into too much detail, around that time I'd experienced some kind of emotional event. And I kind of thought, yeah, I'm over that. It's all good. I don't need to worry about that anymore. But subconsciously and unconsciously in my mind, and throughout this whole podcast, I'll use those terms interchangeably, and I'll get into what that actually means in another episode. But unconsciously, I was still holding on to an old emotional event that was distressing. I hadn't actually processed it or let it go. And at the start of that interaction, I actually squeezed my groin together. Like if you imagine squeezing your fist with your knees. And at the top of my groin, that produced like a 7 out of 10 pain. It was the same as it had been for about 6 months. And it was super sore and super uncomfortable. And through talking with Will, and I had this realization, I'm like, oh man, of course, I haven't actually fully processed that. I haven't dealt with that. And just that awareness alone, Will asked me to check my leg again. And no word of a lie. And I've seen this so many times with my own clients. My pain instantly shifted. It was down to like a 1 or something. And a few days later, I was back training again. And I was like, this is it. This is the thing that I need to dedicate my life to. this is what I'm here to do. And so for the next 6 years or so, I've been studying Germany medicine, which essentially is the roadmap to unexpected stressful events at the emotional level and how that causes the physical changes in the body. So I'll get more into that in another episode, but essentially that's where I started, and that's where I had the realization that the mind is so powerful and that it has it's like a hierarchy, I guess, in terms of the mind is above the body and the mind dictates what happens in the body. And so all of a sudden, instead of playing at the physical level with my clients, I would start to delve into, I was dipping my toe in the water at this stage, starting to ask people questions about where they'd experienced stressful events in their life or where they were still holding on to unresolved emotions. And the results really started to shock me. I was seeing people who'd been in pain for 20 years all of a sudden just be completely pain-free. I was seeing people that had been so flat and exhausted and had no energy ever no get up and go, actually start to feel really energetic and alive again just by releasing these emotions, and seeing people release like guilt and stop blaming themselves and stop beating themselves up and shifting all their negative self-talk. I saw that as this is the real healing. The physical stuff, yeah, it's great and it can get great results for people, but if you want real lasting inner healing and as a result transformation internally, well then people need to release these old pent-up emotions, and people need to become aware of the patterns in their mind that have been holding them back. Because when that happens, two things occur. Not only do you experience like an inner, oh man, yeah, like it's freeing. There's this lightness and peace that goes over your body when you become aware of old crap in your mind that has been holding you back, and you start to look at it and let it go. There's something really freeing and peaceful about experiencing that. But when that occurs, and only then, people's bodies will literally shift in a second to match their mind. When their mind shifts, when their perception shifts, when all of a sudden an event that was really painful to think about no longer becomes painful, and it shifts into feeling really grateful for that moment. Sounds kind of hard to think at the moment, but when that occurs, when that change occurs at the level of the mind, amazing things start to happen at the body. And so that was my story in terms of going from a physical realm of healing to looking at more the emotional side of things, looking at more stress, and helping people experience inner transformations as the first point of call. Because when that occurs, everything else starts to unfold. Physically they heal, but also people start to open up and start being capable of things that they never thought were possible, feeling completely more empowered and inspired. So that's the essence of what I want to bring in this podcast to you, and that's what I want to help you start to cultivate in your own life and cultivate yourself, and have some of these abilities and awarenesses, tools and understanding so that you can become a real mind-body master. So when I was thinking this through and going, all right, what does it mean to become a mind-body master? I came up with 3 pillars. And nailing these 3 pillars allow you to become a mind-body master and experience all that goes along with that. So the first pillar of becoming a mind-body master is to start to create awareness into your own patterns, old emotions that might be holding you back, finding these blind spots in your mind, and then starting to heal and resolve and move through those things. Because you can do that yourself, and I'm going to give you the tools to start learning how to do this yourself. Because when you start to free yourself from the mind and start to be able to find those blind spots yourself, well then that's where you can start to really transform. So that's component number 1, breaking free from the old emotional patterns that kept you stuck, keep you sick, keep you feeling flat, no energy and uninspired, no drive and unmotivated. And those unconscious patterns in your mind that stop you from becoming all that you want to become. They are your glass ceilings, the things that you keep bumping into when you try and either get healthier or become more successful, helping you break through those glass ceilings, the things that you can't see, so that you can heal, grow, and evolve. So that's the first component. The second component is to be able to heal yourself physically and emotionally. Now that's kind of a very crazy term, because For so many years, we've all thought that in order to heal, we need to give our power to a doctor or to a medicine or to a food or to something. But the thing is, when you realize that your mind follows your body, that your body follows your mind, you have the ability to really heal and transform yourself, which is very, very cool. Instead of being constantly fearful about what's going on in your body and worrying about potential diseases or changes that you might be going through, instead of that fear, you start to become really empowered and start taking control of your own health. And again, I don't know when you listen to this, but right now there's some big health challenges going on in the world, and a lot of people are so damn scared. And for me, it's really sad to see, because when you start to understand these principles of how emotions and stress cause physical changes in the body, well, then all of a sudden you start to drop the fear and you start to feel more empowered and feel more in control of your life. And man, that is a beautiful place to be. And thirdly, the last component of what it means to become a mind-body master is becoming emotionally bulletproof. Now, this is something really cool, is when you can start to understand that disease and changes in your body and patterns that keep you stuck and self-sabotaging start in your mind and start from unexpected stressful events, start from emotionally distressing events. Here's the thing. As a human, you can't avoid going through emotionally stressful or distressing events. It's impossible. It's the nature of being a human, is we can't avoid those things. But what we can avoid and what we can control is how we react to unexpected events. So becoming emotionally bulletproof is being able to acknowledge that, hey, yes, I'm still going to experience stressful events and distressing events and unexpected emotional conflicts in my mind and in my environment. I can't necessarily control or avoid them, but I can control how I respond and I can control how I perceive them. And for me, this is one of the key components to experiencing great health, vibrant health, is being able to regulate your emotions and being able to see and change the perspective of these events in your life. Because when you're able to do that, firstly, you don't get caught up in them. Like, humans have this amazing ability to think, but it really stuffs us up in a lot of ways, because we have the ability to think. When we go through something distressing or unexpected, we're able to ruminate on it, and we continually go through this loop of thinking and stuck thinking, and it's almost impossible to get out of when you're in that. But becoming emotionally bulletproof is when you experience something like that, instead of getting stuck in a negative loop of thinking and poor me and why did this happen and this is unfair, it's being able to actually shift that. It's being able to cut through that loop in your mind with a knife and create new, more empowered neural pathways that are more conducive to health, happiness, and vitality. So they're the three components: being able to break free of the old emotions and patterns in your mind that keep you stuck and keep you in these self-sabotaging patterns. Because when you do that, you can start to really unlock your true potential. Being able to heal yourself physically and understanding that your body follows your mind, and as a result, feeling more empowered and less fearful about your body and what it's going through. And lastly, becoming more emotionally bulletproof. So that's where we're going to go with these episodes. So every episode, I'm going to give you some practical applications. I'm going to give you a new understanding. I'm going to give you a new perspective. So all of these things are going to gradually start to shift you as a person, gradually shift your thinking and your perspective, so that you can see things in a different light, a more empowering light, and actually start to develop the tools to become a mind-body master, to feel bulletproof emotionally, to feel resilient, and to heal yourself and be able to do the inner work on yourself. And this is the journey that I've been on for the last 6 or so years. And I want to now give you the information, give you the tools and things that I've learned, what's worked for me, what hasn't worked for me, what I've seen work really well with my clients, what some people didn't work well with, and give you those strategies and tools so that you can really start to go from where you are right now, which might be, I don't know where you are right now. You might be doing really well, and it's like, well, at that point, it's about how can you do better? How can you continue to do well? How can you feel even more inspired, even more energetic, even more alive, even more empowered with your body? Or you might be feeling really flat and stuck, and you don't know, you feel a bit lost in the world, and you feel really fearful of a lot of things. Well, this is going to be the thing that gives you the tools to start getting yourself out of that, because at the end of the day, you're the only one who can change and create change in your body and your life. And so giving you these practical tools is going to be the stepping stones, which are going to be so useful for you going forward. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, well, please stay tuned, because I'm going to be providing you with some great podcasts and great information going forward. Well, I think it's great anyway. So yeah, stay tuned. And if you do find that this is something that you really resonate with, well, chances are there's other people in your life that are going to resonate with this message as well. People that might be like the latter person that I described, feeling really stuck, or have some chronic illness that they just can't shift, and they've tried absolutely everything in the medical world to shift it. I please ask you to share this with those people, because I share this message to help people and to be of service and to help people expand and heal and grow. So if you're able to help share that with those people who really need to hear this message, I am forever grateful. And it makes me really happy and inspired to be able to get up and serve and give you this information. So thank you so much for listening to this very first episode of the Mind Body Masters podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here, and thank you so much for being a part of this. And I look forward to this journey that you and I are about to go on together. So stay tuned. Now, the next episode is going to be about how the body follows the mind more specifically. So I touched on it a little bit today in this episode, but in the next episode, episode number 2, well, we're going to go to a whole new level with that, and you're going to start to understand how physically things in your body, how your energy, how illnesses, how a lot of that starts in your mind, and what you can do to start shifting those things yourself. So as I said, thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for episode number 2.